guys, what is up? Today we are going to be taking a look at the Morakniv Basic 511 knife. Now this thing comes in either stainless or carbon steel blade. I opted for the carbon steel. As you can see, it has a shiny appearance outside of the box. Now these knives go for between like $10 and $12, right around there. You can find them on Amazon all day long. And they come looking just like this. Now this is a very basic Mora, as the name implies. You can see it has a hard plastic handle, no rubber here whatsoever. The blade is finished fairly decent, but you can see, hopefully you can see in the video, that the spine is not fully polished. So that's where they save some of their money, is in the finishing on this blade. This is also not a full Tang blade either. This just goes part way into the handle. So this is not going to be the kind of thing you're going to want to use for heavy batoning. That should go without saying given the size of the knife. I don't know why you would be trying to pound on a knife this size to begin with, but just so you know, not full Tang. It also comes with a hard plastic sheath that you can see right here. Nothing fancy, nothing to get super excited about, but it does work. It doesn't have any kind of swivel on it, any kind of adjustment. It just has a clip right there that'll go over your belt, so that's just going to clip on. There's no loop or anything to lock it in. And by the way, if you are a left-handed individual such as myself, this thing is not reversible in any way, shape, or form. So this is only going to work to hang it on the right side unless you want to have that knife hanging backwards on your hip. But the sheath does work fairly well. It does a good job of locking the knife in there. It's fairly comfortable to wear. It's a little bit oversized. I wish it wasn't quite as long because that can be a little bit awkward and get in your way sometimes. Definitely not something you're going to be able to like conceal carry, like wear the sheath inside you know, your pant or anything like that. Nah, it's way too big for that. So you're going to have to wear it on the outside. It's going to be hanging out where everybody can see it. So not really the ideal thing for wearing around town, but it would be just fine if you're out in the woods. So what do I think of this knife? Well, I'm going to tell you right now, for the price point, I think it's going to be really hard to beat. It definitely has a good quality steel blade that's held up really well. It gets really, really sharp if you sharpen it upright. It does come pretty sharp out of the box. As I mentioned earlier, the blade is not fully finished, fully polished out. So I would certainly recommend, if you purchase one of these things, one of the first things you would do is get you a good file and grind that spine down to get it to where it is smooth, which I was able to do fairly easily. I just didn't do anything to this one yet because I wanted you guys to see what it looks like stock right out of the box. So that's exactly what you're going to get. I don't think I've even sharpened this one yet. No, I haven't done anything to it. So that's what you're going to get, but out of the box it is still pretty sharp, definitely workable, and easy to polish it up a little bit and get it a little bit sharper. Now the design of the handle is alright. It is fairly comfortable. You can see in my hand it's just about right. Now I do have maybe a little bit smaller than average hands, so if you're a guy with big old gorilla paws, it might be a little small for you. I could see where this part here and this part here could be kind of uncomfortable. Like if your hand is hanging off. I know some people I've seen in reviews will say that they actually have to hold the knife like this with their pinky off the bottom if they've got large hands in order to control the thing. But it's not too bad. It's got, you know, a nice curve to it. It does kind of belly out all the way around, so it feels fairly comfortable in your hand, but it is hard plastic, so nothing to get super excited about, but nothing that's, you know, going to ruin your day or tear your hands up. Okay guys, now that you've seen one straight out of the box, I wanted to show you one that I was able to customize a little bit. This is my personal carry one right here. You can see, by the way, I've got a green handle here. This does come in multiple colors. You can get black, green, blue, red, I think even like pink, a whole bunch of different colors depending on what you want. So, but I like the green, kind of a cool tactical look to it. And you can see I was able to kind of black the blade out here. Now I use the good old-fashioned soaking it in hot vinegar trick. You boil up some just regular white vinegar and you just drop the blade in there, and the carbon steel immediately reacts to it. It'll start bubbling and it'll darken up. Pretty crazy if you've never tried that. But I did that once to darken up the whole blade, and then I went back and I polished the cutting edge of it down to the bare metal again, and then I treated it again. So you can see I got like the darker color to the sides of the blade, and then a little bit lighter gray to the actual cutting edge. By the way, I did polish this down a lot on that cutting edge, straight from the factory. Seeing the other one again, you can sort of see lines in it, like it's not fully polished. Whereas mine, I polished that smooth, so it's got a little bit of a different look to it. And if you actually compared them side by side, you might notice that the spine is just slightly lower, because I did completely strip the spine of this down to get you a nice, good, clean top edge on it. I just wanted to show you guys what I was able to do with this thing, because this is a good little knife if you're into tinkering around with this kind of stuff, or maybe you're just like kind of playing around with it, you don't really know what you're doing and you want something to practice on. This is a perfect knife for this, because you've only got like 12 bucks into it, so if you jack the finish up, you know, you're not going to lose too much sleep over it. And the way I did it didn't quite turn out perfect, but I think it looks pretty cool. But I want you to know that you can do some little tricks like that. You can definitely polish this blade up, just put a little bit of work into it, and you can address the little issues you get out of the box as far as the spine and maybe the edge not being quite as sharp as it could be. Alright guys, so I'm going to show you a couple things real quick. Obviously we are not way out in the wilderness, we are in my backyard, but I just wanted to play around with this thing a little bit, just kind of show you guys what this is capable of. So I've already got a branch here that I was working on. I just want you guys to see. You can see this is completely stock out of the box. I have not sharpened this at all. I mean, just that's straight out of the packaging. So, and you can see, I mean, for a small knife, it works pretty well. It's fairly sharp. Definitely enough to do basic woodcrafty type stuff without giving you any trouble. Certainly for hiking, backpacking, stuff you would need, you know, opening up packaging and maybe cutting a little cord, whatever, stuff like that. No problem whatsoever. Even stuff like more bushcrafty stuff, doing feather sticks, wood shavings, you're not going to have any problems there. Now let me see if I can find a few little pieces of wood just to do some very, very light batoning. Like I said earlier, I would not use this thing to try to split anything big. You'd just be asking to break it. But I just want you to see that if you were doing really small stuff, just making a little kindling or whatever, and this was all you had, that it would work. It's not really that branch ain't gonna work. Let me find something else. Alright, so that last branch I had wasn't gonna work, but this should work for demonstration purposes. Maybe not so good. This is kind of rotten. Alright, so you can see, you can take a little pounding on. The thing didn't just snap off. I wouldn't use this heavily for that, but in a pinch, or again, just for really light stuff, it'll work. Alright guys, so now we're going to check how this thing works with a ferro rod. By the way, this is my fat wood handle ferro rod from 4 Directions Bushcraft. You can look up my review on that. This is a awesome ferro rod. But I know I said earlier that this thing was able to be used with a ferro rod right out of the box, and the other knife that I have, it actually did work. But this one, this is the first time I've tried this one. You can see I'm like not getting a spark at all off that edge. So unless I use like the blade, which I hate doing, this one would not work. So I guess it's inconsistent from the factory as far as the grind on the edge of this, or I guess just the the way it turns out when they make the blade. But this one I would have not been able to get a spark out of at all. So I would definitely plan on that. If you're going to buy one of these thinking you're going to use it with a ferro rod, you're going to have to grind the spine down to clean it up. Now let me show you guys real quick. This is the Mora that I customized, cleaned the spine up. World of difference, right? So, but that was really maybe 3 minutes of work with a file to clean it up, and it works real well. So again, the spine on these is really bad from the factory, so plan on filing it down and cleaning it up if you're going to use it for a ferro rod. So is the Mora Basic 511 a perfect knife? No, it's far from a perfect knife. But as far as a knife for 12 bucks, I have yet to find anything out there that's going to compete with it as far as fixed blade goes. I mean, they're cheap, they're decent quality, they're pretty sharp, they're decent steel, the handle is halfway decent, it does come with a sheath, although it's not reversible and it is hard plastic, but overall for 12 bucks I really don't think you're going to do much better than the Basic 511. The thing that's great about a lightweight, cheap $12 knife like this is that it's great for backpacking, something like that where you don't need some kind of a big survival blade, you just want a decent dependable knife that's not going to put a bunch of weight in your pack. And if you realize that you dropped this thing 14 miles back on the trail when you're way out there in the bush, you're not going to feel bad about not turning around and going back for it because you've only got 12 bucks in it. So overall, I would say that the Mora Basic 511 is the best knife I have seen so far for this price point. Definitely worth checking out. Alright guys, this concludes our review on the Mora Basic 511. Feel free to leave your comments and questions below. Make sure you subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to look us up on Facebook, Twitter, and our blog.